Good morning. Today we will talk about our consulting report for our client Tesco, where we compare Tesco, Waitrose, and M&S to understand London's supermarket landscape. I'm Evan, and here is my partner Parshwa. We will now explain our business context, then our methodology, followed by our findings of the three areas we are going to cover. And to close off, we are going to give recommendations for Tesco. So this consulting report aims to help Tesco navigate the highly competitive market of the UK supermarkets. We use analytical skills and tools to gather information available to us and make a data-driven report to support Tesco's operation. Our approach is threefold. First, analyzing Tesco's pricing strategy along with Waitrose and M&S. Second is assisting in database expansion strategy based on supply and demand. And third is studying the customer experience of these supermarkets by conducting a customer sentiment analysis. Moving on to the first part, to do pricing analysis, we had to scrape products and prices across three supermarkets. We decided to focus on essential products such as dairy, drinks, and fresh produce. After scraping the data, we cleaned it so we could compare the products later on when we move on to comparing the products along with their prices in our price analysis. So for web scraping, all sites used were dynamic websites, not static. This meant we couldn't use Beautiful Soup as it primarily works with static HTML. Instead, we had to use Selenium, which allows us to interact with and extract data from JavaScript content. We also use WebDriver to access the sites and simulate human-like behavior by adding pauses, allowing the dynamic content to fully load and so that we can extract the data. Lastly, we use incognito mode to avoid cookies and prevent site tracking mechanism from disrupting our scraping process. As for data cleaning, we standardize the prices and product names by removing unnecessary words such as Tesco Finest, and award-winning, and retain only the product's core identity. For prices, some of them are in pence, and so we had to change everything into pounds format for ease of comparison. There were also some missing prices, which we had to remove from our data sets. So the first part of our pricing analysis looks at the statistical summary of our data sets. Visualized by our box plot, there are two main takeaways we need to consider. First is the price variation. We can see wide price variation, especially in drinks due to bundling. Fruits and vegetables have lower variation while dairy is relatively stable. Second, we take a closer look into the supermarket's pricing strategy. For example, Tesco's drinks have the highest price range due to premium brands selection and larger packaging options. Waitrose, on the other hand, for their drinks and fresh produce, they have more price fluctuations, reflecting premium products. M&S, on the other hand, appear to have lower price variability for dairy products, indicating a focus on consistent pricing. Thus, that said, this is not enough to have a comprehensive price comparison due to inconsistent units among the products. Thus, we move on to the next section, which is same basket comparison. For this, we have chosen 7 essential products across dairy, drinks, and produce that are available across the 3 supermarkets, and comparing the total basket price. Each supermarket's pricing was also adjusted to reflect the same product quantities, thus ensuring a fair apple-to-apple comparison of affordability. From our results, we can see that Tesco is the most affordable supermarket. This reinforces Tesco's low-cost leadership strategy. On the other hand, for shoppers who aren't price-sensitive, they may prefer M&S or Waitrose, particularly for their fresh produce. Lastly, we further analyzed per-unit pricing to see which supermarket offers the best value. To do this, we analyzed the cost of per liter of skim milk and carbonated drinks, and also the per kilo for berries. As these supermarkets sell different types of products, we grouped similar products together that fall into these categories and adjusted their price based on a per unit basis. So when looking at the price per unit, Tesco remains the most affordable out of all the supermarkets. Tesco uses competitive pricing for milk and fresh produce while charging a higher price for sodas, indicating higher margins for drinks. M&S, on the other hand, is significantly more expensive for fresh produce, charging over 50% more than Tesco. Now we are going to move on to our expansion strategy.
Now that we've analyzed Tesco's pricing strategy, the next step is to determine the most promising locations for our expansion. Our goal was to identify underserved areas where Tesco could establish new stores and maximize their market presence. For the data collection, we leveraged the Overpass API to extract real-time supermarket locations for Tesco, M&S, and Waitrose all across London. This provided us with accurate location data for each supermarket chain and helping us map their existing market presence. The next thing is we used geospatial mapping techniques integrating a GeoJSON file from the official London data stores, which contained the boundaries, and this allowed us to assign each supermarket to its respective borough, enabling us to analyze market saturation at the borough level. Next, we compared supermarket density, that is stores per 1,000 people, against population density. By setting strategic thresholds, we pinpointed the boroughs that had high population density but low supermarket resident ratio. This helped us identify prime areas where Tesco could expand with minimal competition. So let's move on to the findings. We made an interactive map with each boroughs highlighted as per their supermarket to person ratio. If it is dark red areas, we can avoid those expansion unless offering a strong differentiator because it's already quite filled with competitors and especially centered around central London. Whereas yellow and light yellow areas are prime locations for new Tesco stores due to the low competition. If we plan to expand in the orange areas, we should consider doing some more market research and consumer demand and spending habits. So finally, from the data that we had, we found 4 main boroughs, namely Lewisham, Haringey, Newham, and Hackney, which were the best boroughs or areas for Tesco to expand their stores. Why Lewisham? Because it is an underserved borough with a large population but limited supermarket presence. It means that there's potential demand for Tesco due to its affordability as well as everyday essentials. In terms of Haringey, it's a developing area with potential demand and low supermarket competition. For Newham, it is the highest population among our shortlisted boroughs, and despite the high population, it has limited access to supermarkets, making it a strong candidate for expansion. Lastly, we have Hackney. Hackney has the highest population density among the top areas. High urban density often means a strong need for accessible grocery options like Tesco. So what the key analysis or the key takeaway that we can take from this is that Tesco should prioritize expansion in boroughs with high population density and low supermarket density or low supermarket competition. These areas often provide a strong customer base and reduce the risk of direct competition with existing chain. We move on to the final part, which is sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis. Why should we do this? Beyond pricing and location strategy, customer perception plays a huge role in business success. We wanted to understand how people feel about Tesco, Waitrose, and M&S, what customers love, and what they criticize the most. So how did we conduct this? Firstly, we used the Reddit API to extract customer opinions from 3 major subreddits, Ask UK, Casual UK, and United Kingdom. By focusing on these platforms, we captured organic, unfiltered discussion about supermarkets in the UK. Next, we did sentiment scoring with Vader. We applied the Vader sentiment analysis tool to classify each post as positive, neutral, or negative. This helped us quantify overall customer sentiment for each supermarket. Now, Vader is specifically trained to analyze social media posts, understanding all kinds of emoticons or the urban slang. So we know that it is quite accurate. Next is visualization and word cloud. We analyze sentiment for post titles and full text separately to detect differences in sentiment expression. Additionally, we generated word clouds to highlight the most frequently mentioned words associated with each supermarket. And at the end, we did extreme sentiment analysis. We extracted the most positive and the most negative post for all of these 3 supermarkets. This helped us understand what customers feel more strongly about, both in favor and against each brand. Moving on, let's jump into the sentiment analysis. What do customers think? When we do overall sentiment comparison, we see that Waitrose has the highest positive sentiment, indicating that customers feel higher prices are justified by their quality and service. Whereas M&S has the most negative sentiment, particularly around product quality and pricing. Tesco has mixed sentiment. Its Club Card loyalty program was highly praised, but in-store experiences such as self-checkout and donation prompts received criticism. Next, we do sentiment breakdown by each topic. To get a more granular understanding, we analyze sentiment across different topics, including pricing, products, customer service, and shopping experience. We see that for pricing, Waitrose has the highest positive sentiment. Customers associate its high prices with premium quality. Tesco had a neutral sentiment, suggesting that customers see it as a balance between affordability and quality. M&S had the most negative sentiment, indicating complaints about pricing and fairness. When we talk about product sentiment, M&S had a strong negative sentiment, likely due to its complaints about availability, quality, and pricing. When we talk about shopping experience sentiment, Waitrose scored the highest, showing customers appreciate the in-store experience, and Tesco had mixed opinions, while M&S had a slightly negative lean. So the key takeaways from this are Tesco's Club Card program is a major strength. It is consistently praised in customer discussions, and pricing remains a highly debated topic, especially for M&S, which faces criticism. When we look at the word clouds, we can see Club Card in Tesco is quite prominent, whereas in M&S, we can see cheap flights and back. For Waitrose, we see that there's quality and food, something which is often quite associated with Waitrose. Looking at the positive and the negative insights, we see that Tesco usually is associated negative insights because of the donation prompts that show up. The donation prompt is basically if you purchase something and they round it up to the nearest pound in order to pay for the donation. So final recommendations. Based on our findings, we propose 3 key recommendations for Tesco. First of all, pricing strategy. Tesco should strengthen its value perception. Since Tesco is already competitive on pricing, it can further differentiate itself by offering bulk discounts on fresh produce. It aligns with customer behavior as shoppers tend to buy fresh produce in larger quantities. Expansion strategy. It should target underserved boroughs like we talked before, as they will offer relatively low competition. And lastly, for customer sentiment or sentiment analysis, we should leverage the strengths like the Club Card loyalty programs by expanding personalized offers and rewards, at the same time addressing negative feedback around in-store experiences such as donation prompts or checkout inefficiencies. In conclusion, our analysis provides a data-driven roadmap for Tesco's future growth by strategically expanding into high-demand boroughs, refining pricing strategies, and addressing customer sentiment. Tesco can strengthen its competitive advantage and enhance customer satisfaction. That's it from our side.